Now, the story started back in January 1992, when a group of men and women in the publishing industry gathered in a flat in North London. After much talk, much like those guys in the corner, and even more wine, the idea for a prize to celebrate the very best of international writing by women was born. Years of research, interviews, meetings with booksellers and publishers and journalists and authors followed, until in 1996 we found ourselves not so very far from here in the old Liberal Club just round the corner, awarding the first ever Orange Prize for Fiction. And many of the people who were involved in that are in this room, and I don't think any of us thought we'd be here now, did we? Really? Not like this, not like this. Since then, of course, the prize has grown in reputation, in stature, in influence, but our primary aims when setting up the prize remain at the heart of things. And that is to celebrate international fiction written by women, to celebrate writing of excellence, accessibility and originality, and to use the publicity and the excitement and, yes, sometimes the controversy generated by the prize to promote a wide range of reading, research and literacy initiatives, and most important, over 15 years now, readers of all ages, men and women in all countries and of all literary tastes, have bought, borrowed, lent and loved Orange Prize novels. Now, through all of this, there has been one constant, and that is our sponsor, Orange. Our partnership is now, I believe, although Colin Tweedy is here and he will correct me if I'm wrong, I think one of the longest continuous art sponsorship in the UK. And Orange doesn't bang its own drum, but they really have done an extraordinary amount, not just for the prize, but for literacy and reading and the general debate about why books still matter. So I would now particularly like to thank Stuart Jackson, Matt Sears and CJ Stanley, who are the people working on the prize now. And it's my very great pleasure to welcome to the stage Stuart Jackson, Director of Corporate Communications at Orange, to say a few words. Stuart.
Thank you very much. As Kate has already so beautifully outlined this evening, tonight is an extraordinary and celebratory night, both for Orange and the prize. It's easy to forget how different the literary world was 15 years ago. Male authors dominated the prize shortlists and female authors would have to work twice as hard to get their voices and their stories heard. How times have changed. And I'd like to think that we at Orange, along with Kate, the Women's Committee and many other supporters in this room, played a significant part in that change. For what was created back in the mid-90s became a growing cultural statement, a movement that grew into a landmark event of real significance on the arts calendar and real relevance for the literary world and its readers. It remains so more than ever today. Tonight is very much about looking back and celebrating what has been a glorious and highly successful 15 years, but it also gives us an opportunity to look to the future and to consider what the next 15 years will bring. The people in this room will have a key impact on the literary and cultural landscape over these next 15 years, and whether you consider yourself a publisher, an author, a commentator, a storyteller, an inventor or a technologist, worlds are about to collide. And new opportunities about to be created and imagined. Like it or loathe it, the rise of the electronic book is happening, and it's in our hands to be a part of and help shape that journey. Personally, I see the electronic book as a real opportunity for the literary industry, the mobile industry, and most importantly for consumers, giving them instant access to the world's most exhaustive bookshop and libraries at the touch of a button. And it means that the Orange Prize for Fiction has never felt more relevant to my company and my industry. Within a generation, the electronic reader is going to transform the way people consume and interact with words, pictures, news, fiction and fact. Be under no illusion. Times are changing. Habits are changing. People's expectations of media, entertainment and information are changing. And today we're just at the start of that journey. But however the world of electronic books, newspapers and entertainment evolves, one thing will remain constant. And that is the desire of the audience to be entertained, moved, informed, educated and most importantly inspired. And that's something that the books on the Orange Prize for Fiction shortlist have done for the last 15 years and will continue to do so for many years to come, however people decide to read them. Tonight would not have been possible without the hard work and courage of a few people in the audience this evening, Firstly, my team, who I absolutely adore, hugely passionate people, and without you, this would not be the celebration it is tonight. CJ Stanley, Matt Sears, and all at M&C, I'd really appreciate if you give each of those people a round of applause. Also, of course, Kate and Harriet Hastings. Thank you to you both. It's from the heart when I say you're a joy to work with and a real inspiration to us all. I'd also like to thank the Women's Committee, as well as the year's judging panellists. They join a long line of immensely talented women who have contributed their time, expertise and experience to help make the Orange Prize what it is today. But most importantly, thank you to all of this year's authors, who have inspired their many readers and future generations of readers and writers to pick up their pens, boot up their PCs and switch on their ebooks. Here's to another 15 years of delivering outstanding fiction to new audiences wherever, whenever and however they want it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. I think that was one of the nicest sponsor speeches I've ever heard. That was really good. So, to tonight. We're delighted to be back here in the magnificent ballroom of the Royal Festival Hall. It feels like our home now for this prize, especially after two events that we held here at the South Bank on Monday and Tuesday, where more than 1,000 people came to hear the authors shortlisted for this year's two main awards read their books. 1,000 people. It was a wonderful, wonderful evening last night and the evening before. But before we move on to the first of the awards we're making this evening, a few thank yous. Now, obviously, after 15 years, there are too many people to thank from the stage, and hence the screens you would have noticed around the room. Many of you here, I hope, will see your names, and whatever any of you have done for the prize, either all the way through, or at the beginning, or particular support you gave, we appreciate it, and your names are up there as a roll of honour, if you like. But I would quickly like to pay here tribute to the people involved in this year's prize and putting the 15th together. All our partners at Book Trust, particularly Claire Shanahan, at the Reading Agency, particularly Miranda and Penny, at M&C Saatchi, especially Kath O'Brien, Naomi Lee and Amanda Johnson, the Arts Council and Gemma Seltzer, who looks after the Orange Award for New Writers there, the Management Committee, particularly Lisa G, who's at the back, the website editor, the Women's Committee, Susan Sandon, Claire Alexander, Julie Wright and Carol Welsh, and of course everyone here at the South Bank that's made it such a wonderful place to have the party. To the thousands of librarians and journalists and booksellers and publishers who every year, little by little, have supported the prize more with such enthusiasm and energy, and all the initiatives that go with it, the literacy projects, the lifelong learning projects and the research, which matter a huge amount. Of course, thank you to Tattinger for the champagne. Raise a glass to Tattinger, exactly. The audience comes alive at the mention of alcohol, fantastic. And the late Grizzle Niven, who was the creator of the tiny statue that's quite hard for you to see from there, but it's called the Bessie. And in the very early years of the prize, the anonymous donor, who we were contacted by someone saying, we would like to give you the prize money for your literary prize, trying to set up a prize for women. And at first I thought it was my sister making a joke. I was going, yeah, hilarious. And this person went, no, I really would like to give you this money. And then we announced that, and Grizzle Niven, then in her 80s, part of the Chelsea set in the 20s, also got in touch and said, I too would like to give as a gift something that could be given each year. And so each year a new Bessie is cast in a slightly different colour bronze, so that the winner has their own and unique remembrance of the evening. Last but by no means least, there are two people who deserve particular mention, not just for tonight, but all the way through. The first is Harriet Hastings, who will be lurking somewhere. But Harriet has been involved since almost the very, very beginning of the prize. And without her bringing everything together and keeping it all together, we simply wouldn't be able to have an event of this type, and we simply wouldn't be able to promote authors like we do. Finally, and on the occasion of our 15th birthday, there's one person who really deserves a special mention, and she is the other co-founder of the prize, Jane Gregory. Oh, overwhelmed with emotion, Jane. Jane has been involved since that very first ad hoc meeting in that North London flat, and she does all of the tireless work behind the scenes, the stuff that forgive me the lawyers in the audience, but the stuff that I find quite dull, the contracts and all of these bits and pieces, she's seen it all and has hung on in there through it all, and she is the unsung heroine of the Orange Prize. So can I ask you to give a round of applause to Jane Gregory?